Right. We are live at 3 p.m. Good to go. Just got to get some music on. All right. Hey, GS Films, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Hey, Jeff. Hey. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I should probably maybe like schedule next week's stream right after this stream. Hit the mark. Hey, Chris. How are you doing? Hey, 223. Things are good for me. Yeah, I mean, you guys have probably seen, I'll probably talk about it a little bit more, but it's just been, man, what do you call it? Been a little MIA on the YouTube side, which is not what I intended. But yeah, things that just have been so busy between like wrapping up end of summer, even though summer is technically over, right? I think it's fall, wrapping up some family vacation stuff, and then also work around the house a little bit, some big projects, trying to clean up the backyard, and then my daughter helping out with that, and then obviously orders, which that's the big one, is I have just so many orders coming in, which is fantastic. Jeff says, I have my first repeat order today. Hope you're doing great. Thanks, man. Hope you are well as well. Hello, Benny. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so I think we're officially running out of space in my little workshop. I have some filament to move, and I'll probably do that and just make like a rack of bulk filament rather than putting it on my little shelf over here to use that as order queuing. But yeah, the amount of orders I have, I now actually set up a folding table just out past my curtain there, and I have some stuff set up. I currently have like 23 open orders. So, and almost all of them are ready to be assembled. I just need to do the work. So that's going to be a late night project tonight. Let's see here. GS Film says, my business has been going all right, just can't get many orders. Yeah, I mean, on two of my new shops that I launched within like anywhere from 3 months ago to a month ago, orders have been slow, like few and slow. But overall, I guess that's not unexpected. You know, my next step on some of those is actually to set up another social media account and start doing some marketing videos for that. And I'm trying to like figure out, you know, what story I really want to try to tell. So that's something you could think about too with the products you're selling. Like, how could you create like an overarching story that you could share and use that to share your products? Something to think about. That's a lot harder to do than it sounds. Jacob, hello from Denmark. Welcome. Giovanni, welcome from Italy. That's awesome. Casper says, started working on my first designs today. First few prototypes have been great. That's awesome. Yeah, I realized how many prototypes it took me to build my last product. And I think it was, man, I want to say I at least had like 20 or 30 printed off and made some revisions on there. So yeah, if you're burning through filament, coming up with prototypes, don't worry about it. That's just part of the process. But it is cool to see the progress as you go along. When you start working with tolerances, I was trying to do press fit magnets, which I ended up getting. But man, it was just like quite the process to get exactly how I wanted it. Mike, hello, welcome. Yeah, well, the new store is doing okay. Still have a lot of room to go on the new store, so I got to figure out what to do there. But again, it's things are starting to pick up. So now that school's back in session here in the U.S., orders are kind of like picking back up because people are done with their vacations. They're getting back on a routine, which is good. And for my off-to-bench shop, if I get one more order today, I'll be on pace for a sale a day on that store. Some other stuff trickles in from my other shops, and the partnership is doing really well too. So lots of orders overall. We're trending at, in total, across everything, between 4 to 5 orders a day across all the shops, which is sweet. Because again, if I can get to that 10 order a day mark come the end of the year, I'll be in a really good spot. And this month isn't supposed to be crazy busy yet. I would really expect October and November to be the 2 months that really pick up. Let's see here. Jason, welcome to the stream. What's your main filament type, PETG or PLA? I use PLA. Yeah, I have really no need for PETG. I mean, the only reasons I'd want to use PETG are if it's going to be used in somewhere that's really hot, which then you can also just buy high temp PLA now. That is an option, but there's only one brand that I know of that makes it. And I don't think they come in many colors. And then the other reason is strength. So I just want to point out that counterintuitively, PLA is stronger than PETG. I think people get that mixed up a little bit. It's just PLA has like the ability to flex or not creep as much over time because it's a little more, I don't even want to say springy, but it can bend a little bit more without breaking. PLA is more brittle, but not like, it's not like glass. I think when people say PLA is brittle, they think of it as being glass. Like I make a coat hook that I sell semi-frequently, and I tied 50 pounds of dumbbells to it and loaded up with more stuff, and I still couldn't break it in the orientation that the weight would be on the coat hook. So, and that's just with 2 screws and 3D printed PLA. Let's see, hit the mark. Sorry, I had a phone call come in and you answered that question. Oh, did I miss? Oh, okay, I see here. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss your question. Antiquarian, I was in school and taught x-axis, let's see, in school I was taught x-axis was left to right and y was top to bottom. And now in 3D printing there's a z-axis. Could you explain 3-axis use in 3D printing, please? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna probably mess up the x and the y, but what you're describing is 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional. So in 2 dimensions, you have the x and the y, with x being the horizontal, y being the vertical, and that's what you use for graphs and probably your math classes. And that's 2 dimensions. The second you add in a 3rd dimension, which is what you live in. You live in the 3-dimensional world, 3-dimensional world. You need to add another section there, or another, what do you even call it, axis. So the z is the vertical. So you've got your like length, or your width and depth, and then height. So that's just what the z is for, is the 3rd piece in there that makes it 3 dimensions. Anyway, that was probably a poor explanation. I've been binge watching Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's got a comedian on there, and then he brings on other astrophysicists and scientists from all fields, really, to like do these hour-long little videos things. Super great. If you really need like to feel like you're dumb, but also learn something in the process, go watch that. It's fantastic. But the question you just asked definitely feels like a Star Talk type question. There's one on like multi-dimensions and multiverse. Anyway, getting off topic. DYI Mowing. Hello, welcome to the stream. Glad you are here. Let's see. Benny asks, where do you get your boxes for shipping from? My answer is Amazon. Is that the best place to get my boxes? No, it is not. What I have heard, and what you probably want to do long term, is actually build a relationship with a local box supplier. You could probably get better discounts, be able to pick it up locally, support your local economy in the process. For me, Amazon has been useful because I don't keep a lot of inventory of boxes, so I buy it as it comes in. I think the biggest box order I have done, and I will be doing another one here shortly, is 100 units of 3 different types of boxes. So I'll buy a 6-inch by 6-inch by 6-inch. There's your 3 dimensions again. I'll buy a 9-inch by 7 by 7, and I'll buy a 10 by 10 by 6. I actually might move that up to 11 by 11 by 6, but those are the 3 that work really well for me and pretty much meet almost all of my needs. I have some smaller ones than that too, but I do lower volume on those. Let's see here. Jason says, I have a very bad time dealing with the shrinkage of PETG prints recently. That's interesting. So the other reason, which I didn't say, that I don't use PETG is I don't dry all of my filaments. I do dry them time to time. Like if I have PLA sitting in my machine, I'll go ahead and use the the dryers on the AMS2 overnight to get those back down to an acceptable level. But for the most part, if I'm putting black PLA in my printers, they are running through it quick enough that any moisture isn't really going to affect the machines or the print quality. Even if I leave them in there for a while, it's not going to have any issues. But PETG is the opposite, right? You do have to dry that out. So it just adds an extra step to the process, and I don't have an external dryer, which would be the go-to solution if you're doing high volumes of PETG. GS Films says, big question, what is your favorite thing you've ever printed? That I've ever printed? I might have one here. That I've ever printed. I have a few things. I think the one I'm most proud of recently, sorry, I'm like looking around at all of the things I've 3D printed. I would still go back to this one, which I think we talked about on last month's live stream. This is not the final version. I think I gave the other one away. But this is a dice spinner. And this one is for a 10-sided dice. But I think this is the coolest because it really takes a lot of the things I've learned in 3D printing and puts them all together. It's multi-material. It's got numbering and different lettering and also design on it. So you have to like learn, how do you do the design, which is more the graphic design piece, which is where I actually came from. I'd never had any formal graphic design training, but I've been doing graphic design as a hobby for years, all the way back into college. So being able to blend the graphic design piece with 3D printing is really cool. This takes multiple parts, which that's a whole nother challenge. If you're doing stuff that takes multiple pieces to print and you have to fit them together, it's not straightforward. You have to fiddle with things. You have to learn why and what tolerances to use. And then the other piece is it takes hardware. So some magnets, some bearings, some other things to make that product work. And I think that is cool to see all the work that I've put in the last 2 years be borne out in a product that works really well. So anyway, that's what I'd say right now. Otherwise, like my coffee scoop, I don't know. I kind of, each one has its own little space in my heart. I like all of them. DIY Mowing asks, are Ender 3s good for selling 3D prints? The answer is yes. If it can print something with quality, it's good for 3D printing. Now, that's what I started my shop on. And I will say though, I quickly bought a Bamboo A1 Mini almost immediately as I had the money. And the reason why is because going from the Ender 3 with the limited products that I had at the time, I was able to print 3 times as many units in the same amount of time as the Ender 3 could, moving up to the Bamboo A1 Mini. So I was just economically and thinking about manufacturing speed and also consistency, it was way better for me to move to the Bamboo platform. But don't let that get you down. If you have the Ender already, just run with the Ender and use it. Let's see here. Ahmed says the higher the infill percentage is, the more it shrinks. That is true. Yeah, because as a plastic pool cools, it's going to have that issue. I don't have a good example of it. Another thing to notice is if you're going from, let's say you have a box, right? And you have a really large flat section of the box, and then it goes back up to being walls. You'll get the section on the walls, on the exterior, where it is level with that large floor, where the sides will create a really bad gap, or it will have a bump and it looks just terrible. And one thing I learned about was looking at your slicer and going in and checking out what they call layer time. And the reason why you get those really bad outside walls is because the layer time it takes to print that flat surface is so long that it shrinks a lot further than all the other ones just going up. So that is something that you have to contend with. Adrius asks, where do all your sales come in from now? Right now it's all on Etsy. I need to, well, and I have, I guess, some on Shopify, and then every once in a while I'll have one come in from eBay, but not very rarely. I don't spend really any time on eBay. The big push, which I'm surprised nobody has asked about yet on today's stream, is have I set up Amazon? And that's the other thing is, like, I know a lot of other people and talk with them who are currently using Amazon as a platform to sell on, and it works great. So that is something I should probably do here this month. Just like this week in particular just sounds like an awful time to do it for myself, just because I have so many things going on. I'm really at the point where I'm like picking and choosing, like what do I have time to get done, and then kind of running with just those things and cutting some other stuff out. Let's see here. Kyle says, hey man, I've been on Etsy selling pop-up camper accessories, doing $1 in marketing on two of my best parts and only getting favorites. My only sales are organic. I've sold 20 on eBay. Interesting. So the next question I would have for you is, are you running through the budget? So are you spending the full $1 per day? And if you are, what that would tell me is there's more people online searching for that on Etsy than you're currently getting ads in front of. So you might want to up your budget on your ads. It could very well be that you're just not driving enough traffic to actually sell the part. You know, if you think about your conversion rates, about a 2 to 5% conversion rate from seeing an ad to clicking on it, that would be a click-through rate. I think a 2 to 5% click-through rate is fairly average for advertising on Etsy, maybe 1 to 5%. So knowing that, you know, if you send 100 ads out and people see it 100 times, you're only going to get maximum 5 clicks on that, right? Which isn't a lot. So let's just say 2 to be conservative. Are you going to get a sale because you drove 2 people to your shop? The answer is no. The answer is you probably also have a 1 to 5% conversion rate on your shop, which would tell me that you probably have to drive close to 50 to 100 people to the store through advertising to get that first sale. So it's really a numbers game when it comes into the advertising piece. I would first start by upping your budget. The Forge Tech, hello, welcome to the stream, glad you're here. Adrius says a 45-degree fixes shrinkage. So question for you, and maybe it's not that it fixes shrinkage, right? Because you can't really stop that from happening. But does the 45-degree, like the chamfer, does that hide the shrinkage? Just curious, because that's how I see what you're saying there. Jeff says, how to encourage multiple item orders on Etsy. I've linked items, sales, example, running ads on an item, linked to a deal to buying a similar product, and they get 15% off both. Any ideas? Yeah, I would use all of those. Another thing that I'm using on one of my newer shops is I've actually been releasing products in collections. So there's like 10 of an individual product that are all together. And one of the images within the actual, or sorry, 2 of the images in the listing itself is a picture of all of the collection, not just the one item that they're looking at. And then the image after that is the same thing, but the background's blurred out and I have text above it that says, if you buy 3 of any of these or 3 of anything, you get 25% off your order, 3 or more. So feel free to get creative. I know a lot of the shops on Etsy actually use like the images for product descriptions, details about the product, whether it be color or they do, what do you call it? Like sizing and dimensions and stuff. Because people don't really go into the descriptions that much. So maybe take like the info that you have in your descriptions and add those into the photos as well. Anyway, that's kind of a mix of 2 things, but that's what I would do. Excuse me, I already yawned again. Stuart says, I'm late, good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Yeah, it must be late where you're at. It is mid-afternoon here, but yeah, based on my yawns, it definitely feels like evening. The Forge Tech says, what's your weekly sales goal and also profit goal? So let's actually answer that by just profit goal, because at the end of the day, that's how I get paid, and that's the only thing that matters to me and my family. So I think the average profit goal per sale, let's start there, and then we can do the math, the rest of the math, is $10 per order. So if I can sell a widget let's say this, like my tape dispenser holder that goes on the wall back there, and it's got a wall mount for it too, which this is going to be up on Patreon this month. I will be doing that probably by the end of the weekend, getting this up for everybody who's part of Patreon to have access, and you can also buy it if you don't want to join Patreon, that's fine. But this is, where was I going with this? Let's say I could sell this, pretend, and I could sell it for a physical product and make $10 after shipping, Etsy fees, production, all that stuff. And that's what I pay myself for 1 unit of that being sold. That's kind of my minimum standard. And now anything above that's fantastic. Oh, and hey Tom, sorry I missed your thing. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're definitely here. If I can make 10, that's great. That means really I want to hit the $200 a day goal, and because if you times $200 per day before tax in the US, and then you multiply that by 30 days, that averages about $72K a year, which is that's a good income. That's above the average household income in the United States. So for me, that's kind of the goal, is can I make 200 bucks a day? And if that is $10 a day or $10 per sale, you can do the math. I need to make 20 sales per day. Now where it gets fun is if you take some products that make more. Let's say your average is $20 per sale or order, or $30 per order. Now you're really reducing those number of orders. So what I really am trying to shoot for is, can I get to like 10 or 15 orders a day by the end of the year with that $10 to $30 price point? And that's kind of what I'm shooting for. Anything above that, that's like the minimum goal. The large goal is I'd like to make considerably more than that. So we're working on it. But that's kind of the roundabout way. Sorry, I was kind of like working that through my brain. But $10 per order, $200 a day. That means 20 sales minimum, or increase my profit per order. Kyle says, I have a 3% click rate on 1,000 views in the past week, and I've been advertising for 1 month. Okay, 3% click rate, so you're looking at 30, right? So am I doing the math right on that? Because 10% is 100. So yeah, you're looking at 30 clicks. So Kyle, what's your conversion rate on the store? That might help put things in perspective too. Hit the Mark says, any opinion between the Bamboo P1S versus the X1C, and do you recommend the combo option? Highly recommend the combo option. If you're getting the Bamboo stuff, just get the AMS unit. It's way more expensive to buy the AMS by itself. I think you have to pay an extra $100 or something. So just get the AMS unit. It's handy. It allows you to run through full spools of filament. X1C versus P1S. I've never had the X1C, so I guess I can't fully speak to it. The only thing that I miss from the X1C is probably the touchscreen, because the X1C has a similar touchscreen to the A series with the A1 Mini and the A1. And man, those touchscreens are nice to have. So that's the only downside of the P1S that I really see. But other than that, production-wise, there's no difference. Unless you're doing engineering-grade filaments or need like specific temps, there's no reason to get the X1C. It's just overkill. But now the real question is P1S or the new printer, I can't even think of what it's called now, but the new big printer they just revealed. Oracle says, question, I'm trying to start a printing label business. I'm just trying to start a printing label business on Etsy. Trying to figure out how to price my items. Any suggestions or maybe websites to look at? Printing label business. So like you want to do 3D printing and labels, like nameplates and that type of stuff. What I would really do is try to keep it a little simple. I would still try to get that $10 per profit if you could, or per sale, right? So, and I guess it's different. Some of my newer shops, I sell stuff for less than $10. Actually, most of my stuff is on one of my new shops. All of my items sell for $8, but I actually run sales and different discounts. So I expect to make anywhere from probably $6 on that, and then after manufacturing shipping about $4. But my whole business model with that shop is I expect that in the long run, my average order quantity will be 3 things or more on the shop. So with that in mind, I'm actually hitting that over that $10 in profit per order mark. So that's how I've priced that shop out. Where was I going with this? But when you're pricing your products, I do 50 cents per hour on printer. That covers depreciation and electricity. I do the amount of grams in filament, maybe do a 10 to 25% upcharge on filament, and then figure out your exact packaging and stuff. I make customers pay for shipping, so that's not a concern on my side. But then, yeah, I mean, those are really the big ones. Labor is going to be your biggest expense, but also where you make your money, because that's where you pay yourself. So don't undercut yourself to get paid, because that's going to be a bummer. Adria says, I always calculate profit per print hour. Yeah, so theoretically I could do that too, right? I could take the total amount of, average out how many hours, or sorry, I could figure that out for all my products. Just take what they sell for, how many hours it takes to print, and kind of figure out what my average is, and then just price my products that way. But that's with 20/20 vision, be able to go back and look at everything. Core says, what do you think about the U1 SnapMaker specs? I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. They look fine. I feel like with 3D print companies nowadays, specs are such a hard thing to rely on, because it really comes down to reliability and consistency. And that's something that I think most manufacturers have really struggled with. So I like the premise of the U1 SnapMaker, but I think it's going to really come out. I think the true test was once people have it in hand and actually getting to use the machine, we'll see if it really holds up or not. Jeff says, free shipping versus paid shipping. Every item I sell under $25, max cost is about $5 on anything shipped, and it works worked $5 into the cost of each item. Jeff, so I've actually not entirely sure on this. I could test it on one of my shops, but the issue, I'm not even sure it's an issue. Etsy promotes people who have free shipping. That is a thing that I think everyone knows about, because you get the free shipping label. It's just a matter of I don't know if it has a huge impact. I've seen both opinions on that from different people. So I don't know. If you can afford to do it, I would, just because it's more convenient for customers. Tom says, what do you recommend as an offset/tolerance for metal parts? I'm wanting to create a box for a tool, but I don't want the filament to be too tight. Okay, so for metal parts, what I would say is, trying to think of a good answer for you. So obviously, zero tolerance is a no-go. Man, even half a millimeter is actually gives some wiggle room, but it's probably not what you want. If you're wanting to use it as a storage bin where you drop the tool in, I would even maybe try a couple of millimeters around the entire tool, because you also don't want it to be inconvenient to put in and out of the storage, bin. Yeah, probably. Got my calipers here. I think a 2 millimeter gap around the entire side would be kind of a nice fit. That's if you really want it tight. If you want to be just really nonchalant about it, maybe go 4. That'd make it super easy. So you could basically just drop the tool in. Alex says, would more than one Etsy shop be more effective than a single storefront? Thoughts on Shopify? So let's answer the first part. Your Etsy stores don't follow my lead on my off-the-bench store. That is kind of a catch-all for all of the products that don't have a home. But all of my new shops are focused on a single niche. So, and that's the way you should do all your shops as well. Going back to the conversation we had earlier about selling multiple products in a single order, if you're selling a mix of a whole bunch of stuff, you're not going to get cross-selling with a bunch of random items. So make sure that all your stuff is kind of cohesive. And if someone were to buy, like, think of someone selling like Pokemon cards, kind of a weird example, but like if you sell collectible cards like Pokemon and those other types of things, you're not going to also sell bath accessories. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the same. Unless it's like a Pikachu, floating Pikachu that goes in the water. This is a really weird analogy, by the way. But, you know, make sure it's something that people would like to buy across all of the products. And then thoughts on Shopify. Shopify is great. I have Shopify. That's what I run my website off of. It's really easy to use. It's powerful. But what I would say is, like, you need to drive all the traffic to your website. They're not going to drive sales for you. It's just a website. It's a great website. It's just a website, though. Whereas Etsy is not a website. Etsy is, you are putting a shop onto their platform, and they have customers already, and that's what they're giving you access to. Completely different places to put your products. That's why you also have to pay fairly high Etsy fees as well. Jeff says, I found that multi-packs on items are selling better than individual counts. Example, I have magnets I sell, printed an item with a magnet inserted, and sell the packs in 2 or 4. Singles didn't sell. Interesting. Very interesting. That's very cool. Yeah, that's kind of like what I was trying to do on my new shop, but it's not, what do you call it? I do sell them individually, but I encourage people to buy in multiples. So we'll see how that goes. It does help, you know, I'm assuming that that's a single listing as well, because, you know, from my perspective, the more listings, the better, because it gives you broader reach on the Etsy search platform. Core says, why won't you buy the Big Tree or touchscreens or any other mods? Compatibility issues. I think the Panda, was it Panda or someone had one of the touchscreens and they got, not discontinued, but Etsy made some updates. Not Etsy, sorry. Bamboo made some updates that basically made them not usable with the platform. So that's why. Also, like, if I don't have to modify the machine, that's better, right? Like, I am not interested in buying a 3D printer to modify a bunch to do something that it wasn't directly intended to do. Number one, that takes a lot of my time. Number two, that makes it harder to repair in the long run. Potentially more things that could go wrong with it. I really want to buy the machine that best suits my production needs as is. And that's what I would recommend for everybody else too. You guys have probably all been seeing, a lot of YouTubers have been putting out videos on the farm loop stuff, which is a pretty interesting concept. And I may try farm loop one day eventually. But the thing I would say about farm loop is, or like going back to what I just said, it's a modification on the printer that does allow you to print a lot of parts. But maybe, you know, I don't know, I'm going to back myself into a corner with this one, but like, maybe that's not the right thing to be printing. I guess it is it is automated in the sense that, like, you get to print off multiple parts. It's the same thing, drops into a bin, but I don't know. I guess I just haven't put the time into farm loop or whatever. But for the most part, I think if you're starting a 3D printing business, you shouldn't rely on those modifications because they're not always going to work. And they may work now, they may work for the next couple of years, but like, Bamboo could switch something up and then, or something come out and the next printer come out that's twice as good as the one you have, and all of the shops move to it because that's where the money is. And then you've really relied on farm loop. I guess that wouldn't matter either. See, I told you I was going to talk myself into a corner with this one. It's just a lot of modifications. One thing that I don't have time for, but it is interesting. Let's see here. John says, oh, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Do you offer free shipping to maximize shipping costs? Single listing with one magnet style, just using variations with multiple counts for price and color and options at no charge. Interesting. Very cool. So Jeff, how many units do you sell? That's what I'm curious about. All right, let's see here. What else can we talk about today? What do you think about the Bamboo Lab Farm Manager? You know what? I have been so stuck in the weeds with business stuff that I've not looked. So I'm going to look it up here. I did hear about it though. Farm Manager. What is Bamboo Farm Manager? You know what? I think there's so much info here. I think what I'm gonna have to do is test out Farm Manager and then I'll let you know. From what I had heard about it, is it's really gonna make things easy. One of the benefits that I think is in the program is staggered printing. So for instance, with Farm Manager, I should be able to queue up, like let's say I have like 5 of the same thing to print and I have 5 printers ready to go. I can queue up that print on all the printers. I can click go and then it will stagger the prints because the electricity usage on the machines is really only big at the beginning. So to navigate any scenario where maybe you overload a circuit that the machines are on because of that peak power usage at the beginning when everything's getting heated up to temp and all that, it will stagger so it doesn't have that electricity demand all at once. So that's super cool. And I need to download that and test it out. That was a little while ago, but either way, we'll check it out. Broken Flame Game says, how's the print biz going? It is going good. If you can't tell, I'm a little tired. Stuff is going good. 23 open orders currently, if no more come in. So business is great. Oh, I didn't mention this earlier, but last month was another month of over 100 orders. And we are on pace this month to break 100, even more. Break it, maybe I could break 125, 130 this month. That would be, I think, on the high count, but man, that'd be sweet. So very cool. Alexis says, farm loop, question mark? I think we just kind of talked about it. I like the concept. I don't have the time or necessarily interest to kind of set it up right now, but I know it's been making the rounds on YouTube. What I really wish though was there was a way to just do it locally. I don't like the idea of uploading it to another service. I already run my prints through cloud service because that's kind of the easiest way. And I know some people hate that for security reasons, but I don't know. Just don't need to upload my stuff anywhere else. I had someone actually reach out to me yesterday. So if this was you, thank you so much. I had my first person trying to sell my prints without permission. I, as many of you know, sell some STL files, and they are for personal use only. I don't sell them with commercial licenses. It's just just for commercial or personal use. And for me, if I have a designer that I like and they make something that I want to use, I would be more than happy to pay them for their design. So, because I understand the work that goes into it. I think a lot of people, I think some people don't care about the work that actually goes into making models, and other people don't understand the work that goes in because they've never done it themselves. But either way, the outcome's the same, where they think they can just take anything off the internet and try to sell it. But this person created an Etsy shop like less than a week ago and uploaded a couple of my products, stole my exact photos and photography that I used for those at listings as well. And then not only that, but they're also selling the STL file for one of them as well as the physical item, which is just bonkers. So I sent them a cease and desist. But anyway, but I gotta say thank you to whoever messaged me, because I had a viewer of this channel reach out to me on Etsy saying, hey, love the channel. Just want to let you know I was trying to find a way to contact you, and I saw that somebody is selling your stuff. So it does make me question if I should have those things up for sale as STL files. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I think it's kind of like a little bit unavoidable. If I'm selling STL files, but it's cool, I guess. I hope they take it down. I really don't feel like taking that too far, because I'm really not into like all the legal stuff. But anyway, Ben Gill says, hey, finally called live from the Netherlands. Hello, a ways away. Just discovered 3D printing a month ago, and I love the content and the channel. Appreciate it, yeah. I'm curious, how do you find me, long form or short form? I'm just trying to get a pulse on where people are coming from. Core says, make a video about it. Yeah, I need to make a video about it. Jeff says, I have them listed in counts of 2 and 4 with people ordering both regularly best-selling items on my shop, actually. $2 for $12 shipped or 4 for $17 shipped. Costs about 25 cents a magnet. Very nice. That's super cool. Broken Flame Games. Glad you're back, and yes, it is awesome. Fred M says, hey Chris, I'm coming out with a video on that to get your Bamboo 100% offline and retain your camera and control to the XYZ axis. I use the X1C, and so far 2 weeks of testing has been great. You can control it from remote too. That's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool. Pop a link in here once your video comes out on that. That'd be sweet. I will say, like, the Bamboo setup, though, I understand it's a closed ecosystem, but it just works, right? Like, it just works. It makes things easy. So, yeah. We'll keep doing what we're doing. Let's see if there's anything else here on the Bamboo Lab. Announcements. Oh, I've got an announcement, or it's not really an announcement. I got, check this out. It's not going to look any. A couple boxes. I got upgrade parts. I bought the hardened steel extruders and the hardened steel nozzles for all 4 of my Bamboo P1S printers. I swapped it out on the printer that was down for maintenance, and it worked. And then I went to start another print, and it stopped working again. So I'm actually having some issues where the filament is grinding. I don't know if you guys can see it in here. The filament is grinding in there. This is my old stainless steel extruder, and I can't get it to stop. Like, there's something wrong. There's not a blockage in the nozzle. I know that because I literally just changed out the nozzle and this whole assembly. There's not a blockage. Well, I do have to test that. I don't think there's a blockage coming from the AMS unit, but I do have to pull out my printer and do like an external load to test it in. But if anyone has any other ideas of what possibly could go on to why a print would stop extruding halfway or partway through a print job, that would be great. I'm afraid that it might be maybe one of the motherboards on the actual tool head, but that just seems extreme because the printers work so well. I don't know why it would suddenly just have a failure on a circuit board. So if anyone else has some things to test out other than the external filament first, let me know, and I'll definitely try that. It is kind of annoying because I have orders that I could be printing on it, and I do have, I retooled, as in, like, I put the 0.4 nozzles in my A1s. So right now I'm rocking 6 printers going all at the same time. I would have 7 running all at once, so that'd be cool. Fred says, hot and too hot, and that's a good question. It's not heat creep because it happens within the first hour, and I've got risers on there. And it's been cooler. It's not like the middle of summer anymore. So I can't imagine it'd be heat creep or why it would be too hot. Core says, try a new SD card. Worked for me somehow. Yeah. Tom says, is it multiple prints you're having issues on? Yeah, it doesn't matter what print it is. It's just any print. Not a slice file issue. No, I don't think so. Jason, yes, it is on the P1S. Actually, let me just check my SD card quick here. Where's my flashlight? Here it is. The SD card, I still have the tape on my SD cover, as you saw in my short. Wow, they send 32 gig ones? Okay, so pull the SD card. Yeah, I can test that out. Maybe that's the issue. I did read one thing on that. I don't think I have a spare SD though. Maybe somewhere. I'm gonna have to like pull out all of my little junk bins. I think I have like a little container of SD cards somewhere. Or maybe they're up here in my camera stuff. This would be such overkill. Is there anyone in here? Ah, there is. I think this is for my camera though. So this would be mega overkill. Yeah, this is 512 gigabytes of storage. That's crazy to think that like you can put 512 gigabytes of storage on there. This is for my camera. I've got 2 of those, so technically I have a terabyte of storage for my camera if I ever need it. I bought that to go on a camping trip, and that is way more than you need. If you're shooting 512 gigabytes in 5 days of footage, that's crazy amount. Mr. X says, hello from Finland. Just got my new H2S and I'm excited. Huge. It's huge compared to my P1S and A1 Mini. Yeah, can you put your A1 Mini inside of it? I think you could. The problem is I'm interested in that printer. I don't have space for it. Like I physically don't have space. My entire shop was built out for the P1S and I'm like maxed out on height in my shop. So I'll have to wait till I rebuild my garage next summer to even do that. Alub Art says, have you had to stop a mid-print and forget to unload the spool? Wow, I can't talk today. Before it cooled down. That's what happened to me, and every print stopped halfway until I replaced the hardened steel. Interesting. Have you had to stop a print mid-print and forgot to unload the spool? Yes. But that shouldn't be the issue because you can technically pull the extruder out and do a cold pull, and that should fix the issue. Interesting. I did do that though. Jason says, I have the issue when the chamber temp is getting too high during the print. The PLA filament may be getting soft in the extruder and causing the gear can't, yeah. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll just do one with the door open. Let's see here. Of course, as I'm looking at Sunlu right now, I need Pet G. Nice. Yeah, still there's a lot of brands. They're all pretty like consistent with each other. Give me a second, guys. I'm here in spirit. Now that you guys are getting me all amped up, I'm gonna try to get this printer kind of working as we chat and answer some questions. I'm gonna grab the tool head and get that out. I'll do a cold pull on it, and then we can actually restart the print while we're here on stream. You guys won't be able to see it, but I'll be able to at least get it going, save me some time. All right, we need a couple more tools here. This has been one of my favorite things that I've ever purchased for the business, a little screwdriver. It's great for maintenance on the printers and also product assembly, super nice. Okay, let's see here. Alexa said, on my A1 stop extruding filament was between the hot and heating assembly. Yeah, what's interesting is I just replaced both of these parts though, and it's still having issues. Alub Art says, I did cold pull multiple times and it still happened. I think the teeth wore out. So I actually upgraded it. You must have missed it or not been here at this point, but I upgraded to the hardened steel so that I'm not concerned about the teeth wearing out, and it's brand new. So let me quick get this out here, and then we can start pulling things apart. Let's get the PTFE tube to start. Yeah, these things, getting these apart is definitely like a, can do it with my eyes closed situation as well. It's used to be scary. I always thought I was going to mess something up, and then once you do it a few times, you realize it's not that bad. There's just 3 screws and then a bunch of little wires and cables. All right, one more screw and then I'll be back with you guys. Almost there. Okay, here we go. We're back. I got the whole extruder assembly out. Let's go ahead and test some stuff here. Let's see what else is going on. Harrison Ward. That's a sweet name. FarmLab is a web app that runs all processing locally. They're a Swiss company and take privacy seriously. Any FarmLoop hardware mods are removable and changes are really just software applied to the slice file. The original file was always stayed untouched in separate copies for modifications. Nice. Yeah, again, I've seen a lot of stuff on FarmLoop. I just haven't done it. I don't have the space to do it at the moment. It's cool idea though. Like the ingenuity that always comes from the 3D printing community. All right, let's see here. Prince Hulk, I make fidgets with 3D printers. Do you? I don't. I want to send you my channel. Can I make 3D printed toys for St. Jude? You do make 3D printed toys for St. Jude? If you do, that's cool. I am transparent. Well, you should wait till you see me in the winter. I get really white. Let's see here. From what company do you buy PetG? I don't buy PetG, so I don't really have great help or info for you there with that question. But PetG, I think they're all fairly similar. I don't know. I think there's a lot less difference in filaments than people say there is. Because I think most of them are from the same supplier. Like, for instance, Bamboo, I think, is just Sunlu filament, isn't it? Sorry if that's loud. There's like a lot of stuff in there. We'll get the extruder head out here, too, and do a cold pull. Yeah, I've done this so many times in the past, like, week and a half or so, trying to get this sorted. Man, and when I fixed it the first time, when I first put it in, it looks so great. Oh, great. It's cut down here at the bottom, so I can't even do a cold pull. Well, well, well. Looks like we're going to have to heat this up in the printer and kind of do the cleaning tip on it. Also, one thing I would like to do, modification-wise to the P1Ss, is I know they make the little scrubbies that come with the A1 Minis, and you can use those to make the nozzles clean a little bit better. That is something I would like to use. I do have extra parts for that because I bought so many A1 Minis last year. So I should probably print those off when I have some downtime. Could be later today, especially if it will help clear up some of these issues. All right, we'll call that good. Let's go ahead and get these gears cleaned up. I sacrificed a toothbrush for cleaning the gear systems because they're pretty nasty, I'll tell you what. Wouldn't want to brush your teeth with that anymore. There's like a little grease on here too. Nice. We'll call that good. Looks like it's in perfect shape to me. All right, so maybe we can try just lowering the temp a little bit, or I'll start by doing it with the door open and see if that works. Buy a small copper wire brush. Yeah. There's some plastic parts here, though, that I'm concerned about. You know, I don't want to touch that with the wire brush. But for the hardened steel, clearly that would be a good solution. All right, back for assembly. So if anyone's watching and you've not taken apart a Bamboo printer, what I would say is don't be scared to. It's actually not that bad. There's really good documentation on their website. And I will say, as much as Bamboo has a closed loop system, they do sell replacement parts for almost everything on the machines. So it's very repairable. And I've done all the repairs by myself, and it's been very easy. So Penguin says, do you ever wear a gas mask when you spray the 3D prints with butter chemicals? Not sure what you mean by that. Butter chemicals. But no, I typically don't wear a mask down here. I'm in a large basement that's open. So let's see here. One second, guys. I need to check something for my business partner. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's see if there's any more questions while I'm doing this. Okay, sorry, we're doing some, making sure that stuff is getting shipped out on time. And because of the time difference, I want to make sure that I get this out to my partner before it's too late on his end. Let's see here. Andrew says, what's your ventilation like in the basement? I mean, I've got my entire like furnace set up and all that stuff with ventilation too. It's mostly open, but I also don't use anything harsh down here, just the printers themselves. We have a couple air filters in the house as well, so not super concerned about it. I think I mentioned this a long time ago, but Samcraft did a really good video on PLA and the VOCs and stuff, and he found that there's like basically no difference in VOC levels running and not running the printers. So yeah, so anyway, just working on business stuff here. Sorry about that. Well, not sorry, actually. That's how it goes, right? One other thing to ask everybody. I am thinking, and tell me if this is a dumb idea or not, but I am thinking about offering one-on-one time with me, because I do have people reaching out for like personal meetings. And if that is something that you think would be interesting or would even be willing to do, it would be kind of like a one-time charge for an hour, and then I would have a questionnaire that goes along before it that would need to be answered, so that way we can go into the meeting with like expectations and also like know what you need help on, and then kind of knock some stuff out and then walk away with some action steps. So if that's something you're interested in, you know, put it in chat. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. It would be, you guys can tell me too, but honestly, I was thinking like maybe $200 or $250 for a session. And again, getting to a point where you guys have some action steps to walk away with and then execute on your side. But that's something I might do at the end of this month or maybe next month, maybe roll that out. But either way, that is one new idea I have. And yeah, I think that's kind of the updates, guys. I clearly seemed a little scatterbrained. I've got a lot of orders to go out, which is great. Just trying to stay on top of that. And then I started a project outside of my yard. We have a tree that has a small tree that has a branch that was touching my neighbor's house. So I cut that down yesterday, but then in the process to get to that branch, I had to cut down like a cajillion other things. And now I have this massive pile of things in my yard and I have to like clean that up. So between that and all the things I need to print, and then also new products I need to get up on my shop, there's a lot going on, all good stuff. But either way, next live stream will be next Wednesday. I'll try to get that scheduled ahead of time just so you guys can be a heads up. But again, it's always same time on Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then if you want to check out Patreon, feel free to check that out. I will be putting this up on there this month as a, for all the backers on Patreon. And then, yeah, watch for some new videos. I'm going to have a new video out, a long form video this week/weekend, and then some shorts to go with it. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm going to go finish my coffee. I'm going to go say hello to my daughter and get back to assembling some orders. But thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Cheers.